My name is Emilie. I am 62 years old, and I live alone in a small house in Hove, on the coast of East Sussex, England. My husband passed away 12 years ago. I have only one child, a son, named Thomas. Thomas moved to Canada many years ago. He lives there now with his wife, Sarah, and their 2 children. He has a big house, a good job, and by every measure, a good life. He is happy. But I am here, alone. Every day looks the same. I wake up early, clean the house, and cook a small meal just for myself. In the evenings, I sit by the window in silence. No one visits. Thomas rarely calls. Sometimes he sends money instead. Sometimes he says, "Mother, I'll come soon." Still, I wait for him because I love him and he is my son. I keep his childhood photographs on my dresser and I look at them every single day. Then, one afternoon, someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, Thomas was standing there. I could hardly believe my eyes. "Thomas," I whispered, "you actually came." He smiled, and he looked genuinely happy to see me. I threw my arms around him, my eyes filling with tears. He stepped inside, and I hurried to make him tea. We sat together and talked for a long while. I asked about Sarah, about the children. "They're all doing well," he said. Then I asked him the question that had been sitting in my chest. "Why did you come, Thomas?" "I missed you, Mother," he said. "You've been living here all alone, and I worry about you constantly. I want to take you back to Canada with me." I didn't know what to say. He looked at me steadily and continued, "You're getting older. It isn't safe for you here by yourself. You should come live with us. You'll be happy there, I promise." "But this is my home," I said slowly. "I was born here. I was married here. Your father lived his whole life in this house. I don't think I can leave it." His expression turned serious. "This house is old, Mother. It isn't good for you anymore. In Canada, you'll have everything you need. Your own room. You'll see the children every single day. Sarah wants you there too." That night, I sat alone in the quiet and turned the decision over in my mind. I didn't want to leave the only home I'd ever known. But Thomas was my only son, and some part of me believed that following him was the right thing to do. The next morning, he brought it up again. "Mother, we should sell the house. You don't need it anymore. You'll be living with us. You can use the money to start fresh." I looked at my son's face, and he smiled at me so warmly that I let myself believe he truly meant it, that this was love. So I said yes. I sold the home I had lived in for decades. Thomas took the money. I packed a single bag with what little I wanted to bring, and together we went to the airport. Leaving broke my heart, but I told myself I was also gaining something. My son, close to me again, after all these years apart. At the airport, Thomas turned to me. "Wait here, Mother. I'll go find a wheelchair. It's a long walk to the gate, and I don't want you to tire yourself out." "All right," I said. "I'll be right back," he told me. 5 minutes, that's all." I sat down on a bench near the entrance. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I assumed the line for wheelchairs must be long, so I waited patiently, watching the doors. 20 minutes passed, then 30. He still hadn't returned, and a small knot of fear began to form in my stomach. I scanned the crowd by the entrance again and again, searching for his face among the strangers, but Thomas was nowhere. 45 minutes had now gone by, and I was still sitting exactly where he'd left me, watching every person who walked through those doors, hoping one of them would be my son. I told myself, over and over, that he wouldn't leave me here. He was my son. He loved me. An hour passed. My heart was pounding now, and a cold, sick feeling had settled over me. That was when a police officer noticed me sitting alone and walked over. "Ma'am," he said gently, "are you waiting for someone?" "Yes," I told him. "My son. He went to find me a wheelchair. We're flying to Canada together." The officer's face softened with concern. "Do you have a photo of him?" he asked. With trembling hands, I reached into my bag and pulled out the photograph.